Day 4 of the August 95 10-day retreat in Springwater. What to talk about on this beautiful morning. Such an amazing sunrise. Several people were watching it. It was this ever-changing light and color and form. Throughout a vast blue sky that lets it all happen, doesn't interfere, doesn't resist or hold on. Right now, through these upper windows, it looks all clear. The leaves are trembling, and breath is flowing. Birds are singing, and motor is humming. What is there to talk about? What is there to fear when no fearful thought stirs in the mind? Instant a fearful thought stirs in the mind, then the chemicals get going, moving from here to there. And the body is in turmoil, and with it the mind, because we don't want to be afraid, we don't like to be afraid. We hate it. We're afraid of being afraid. This is why this initial feeling triggered by maybe one remembrance, one associated remembrance, one doesn't even know very often what it was that gave the push. Now it augments because there is anxiety about feeling anxious and thinking it'll get worse. I've had it all my life. I know nothing helps. All kind of assumptions programmed into this body-mind. Not just the brain, programmed all over, but the brain is the main holder of programs. All kind of assumptions. About what is dangerous, what is fearful, what will cause more anxiety. And it's so self-fulfilling because thought triggers the chemicals that trigger the glands and organs and muscles to manifest what we call fear. And what we don't like to feel, because it feels uncomfortable. Maybe one has been hearing, as some people have indicated, that one should lose the self, be done with it, overcome it, be without self. And that thought triggers what we've just described. The 20,000 chemicals. Maybe it's fewer, maybe it's more. And the question comes up, maybe I could hurt myself with this meditating. Because at times it seems as though thoughts and states and fears were touched that normally go unnoticed. I didn't say that normally aren't there. They may be there, but a barrage of activity and entertainment helps to keep it at bay, over, or drown out the sound, or taking chemicals to subdue chemicals, which is possible with nicotine or alcohol or pharmaceutica. Chemists study in pharmaceutical firms what chemicals will take care of, chemicals mobilized in the body and the states that they produce. And they're quite successful. I don't know what is being subdued, either the centers that register the thoughts or the receptors or the chemicals themselves. But it never quite works completely because the body has a way of getting used to things and then needs more. And then there are side effects which need to be taken care of, or which may cause anxiety, which one has tried to subdue. So that this is maybe a question for more people than those who have formulated it for themselves or for our meeting. Is there some danger in what I'm doing here? Listening quietly, inquiring, coming in touch with fear more than I normally am. Maybe this is how it appears right now. It may not be like that, but this is how it seems. Because most human beings' lives are ridden with fear. But we've gone into that. One does things, has learned things, to hold it at bay or to become somehow inured, hardened against it, insulated from it through all kinds of psychological or physical resistances, which are also very likely represented organismically as chemical resistances. And in the process of beginning to sit a bit more openly, a little bit more unprotectedly looking at protection, defense, maybe these resistances, these defenses wear away, melt away somewhat at times. And maybe what they were defending against reveals itself now to a sensitized body-mind, because sitting alone and together quietly in a very beautiful, natural environment sensitizes this whole organism in a way that our usual city living does not. It does the opposite often, desensitizes, so we don't feel so much irritation, nervous irritation. this question was brought up. Am I in danger of losing my mind? We say that so easily. It is a phrase which is used a lot, and it releases fear, doesn't it? My God, I may lose my mind. Saying that has its own effect, regardless of what prompted the saying, because it triggers imagined specters of quote-unquote going crazy, what one has maybe witnessed in someone or has seen in movies or read about. All ideas triggered to increase anxiety. And then the conclusion drawn, maybe what I'm doing is dangerous, it's bringing this about. In all my years of doing this work, alone and with people, since 1967, so it's almost 30 years, have I found anybody who has been harmed by quiet looking, probing, questioning? I have to honestly say that I do see a potential danger in pushing oneself or being pushed. I felt that from the very beginning of living in a system like that, that this was dangerous. To push people or to push oneself through ideas of what I could attain by pushing myself or pushing others. Help push others. Overriding maybe something that the organism or mind says, don't do, no. I can't. I won't. So this is why in starting up with a new place, these modes were dropped. Pushing oneself, pushing people. There's enough push already programmed into this body. For most of us, growing up at this time, this civilization, this country, have been pushed, are being pushed to do things, to accomplish things, to attain things, not to do things, to become more, better, different. The pressure of it, the threat of punishment and the allurement of reward. I see great danger in that. That's why we don't do it. It's there programmed into ourselves. And what is seen as being necessary or helpful is to reveal that, to bring it to light. What exists within this body-mind and in internal pressures or projecting external pressures. To watch that process, to become cognizant of it and deeply aware of it as it manifests in bits and pieces here and there. And as it manifests, the habitual response is to go with it, to go for something. To exert oneself for the sake of some idea or image. And what is questioned here, time and time again, freshly is, can it be possible to become aware of the effort making rather than the goal of the effort? Become aware of this whole process of ambition. as the airplane roars. Become aware, or allow to let come into awareness, not just what it is that I'm afraid of or what it is that I desire, want to have or get or become, but the fear itself, the desire itself. Is that possible? To let it come into awareness as it manifests physically, very palpably, noticeable. Fear, desire, ambition. In certain areas of the body or throughout the body. Because actually this body does not come in pieces. It is one whole. Not separate from its environment. Breathing in the air. Taking in nutrients. Physical and psychological. Nutrients. So, please, if up till now it was in any way misunderstood, the work of this moment, it was brought up yesterday, this maybe unfortunate expression, maybe not, if one changes one's associations with the word work. The work of this moment is not to get rid of things, to lose things, to overcome character traits, but to illuminate them, to become aware and see it in all kind of situations whenever it crops up freshly. And in the process, maybe as a side product, become a little wiser about how we function, how we relate to ourselves and each other, with so many ideas and so many emotions that we often regret and yet come so inevitably linked with thoughts and memories. And anticipations. What will happen to me when I go back to school? A couple of people have brought it up. Many people may think it. Maybe not to school, but back to the office. Back to the neighborhood. Back to the working place, whatever it may be. How will it be? And projecting. Unless one looks forward to pleasant things, they can be projected and induce pleasure, pleasurable chemicals throughout the body. Or what is projected are fearful scenarios remembered from the past. How the kids were, how the neighbors were, how the principal treated me, the supervisors, the people at the office, the customers. Amazing, isn't it? Right now, sitting here in a peaceful, sunny, quiet environment, anticipating through internal videos what will happen or may happen to me, can get the body mobilized in uproar, upset, pain, pleasure, agony, you name it. But it be observed, seen for what it is, not just swept away in it, which is what usually happens, but maybe in the course of 10 days of quiet looking, listening, alone and together, something may come clear. that thoughts trigger emotions and emotions trigger thoughts. And it happens without an intermediary in there who is doing this, who is to be blamed, at fault, or to be praised when control takes place, which is one of the important programs learned in growing up, to control oneself. Physical things set in motion under the direction of reward and punishment. Learning to control, or not learning to control, and learning to take punishment. So what does it mean to be with pain or to be with fear? It has come up, as it usually does in retreats. Questions come up in clusters for people. Or clusters of people manifest the same questions, the same problem. And fear and anger have come up here. Last night, I think, and I don't keep it apart what meetings it was. Fear, one person called it primordial fear. And saying, I've never been able to really be with it. I've sought out techniques and tools, but nothing has really quite worked. So what do we mean by when we say being with it completely, touching it completely, or probing it completely, immersing completely into it? What do we mean by it? Because if we don't explain it very concretely, directly, vitally, it becomes an idea which becomes scary. You mean I should get lost in fear? Horrible specter. That arouses more fear. Me getting lost in fear. So we're not saying anything that is designed to arouse specters, more videos in the mind, but working very concretely with what it means to be with fear. Which brings up the question, what do we mean by fear when we say primordial fear, or I am deathly afraid? Experiencing free-floating anxiety, meaning all over, not just in one spot. What do we mean? What are we referring to with these expressions? Or what brings about these words with which we're communicating? What are we communicating? To answer this needs looking and feeling and listening inwardly, doesn't it? Or does it just mean recollecting, going to the files of how I felt when I was afraid, and that isn't quite accurate? Actually, one person said yesterday, I don't feel it right now. It's not there. So how can one be with something that's not there? I don't know whether anybody right now feels fear or anxiety. Maybe some do, some don't. But can we still talk about what it means to be with something that is felt intensely, uncomfortably, because that's what we mean when we refer to pain or fear or anger. Something physical feels out of order, out of balance. Uncomfortable. I don't like it. It's something that the body may already be bracing against because it has learned to brace against what does not feel right to it. Like putting a splint, or is it called a splint when you bandage a leg? Around an ankle, a broken ankle, or sprained ankle. The body doesn't wait till the surgeon puts plaster around. It does it itself, becoming stiff in that area to protect. In case of a broken or torn ligament, sprained ankle is very wise. And not to feel pain, maybe that's wise too, so we can continue functioning and trying to go on living and reproducing, surviving. But that is also experienced as discomfort, the body reacting against what it has produced in the first place. The thought triggers certain chemicals to do certain things. We talked about it recently, to run or fight or freeze. And very often, contrary to animals who do those things when those chemicals are triggered and use them up in the process of fighting or running or freezing, we don't. We just sit there in this hurricane of chemical reactions and the discomfort it produces in the body. And then we don't like it, bringing more discomfort of conflict. All this is watchable, experienceable. And the clearer it will be experienced and felt, the less meddling there is with further thoughts saying this will get worse. I shouldn't have it. I should overcome it. I deserve it. All of these thoughts producing more physical reactions felt as turbulence. So what do we mean by being completely with this chaos, with this turbulence of physical, mental upset? Maybe it's easier to say what it means, what it does not mean. It does not mean escape, which is what happens, and when it happens, then one has not been with this thing completely, and therefore it remains a threat for the future. Future meaning anticipation of it happening again. It means the absence of all our conditioned and conventional ways of dealing with something unpalatable or uncomfortable or painful, trying to distract oneself from it. Being completely with something is the absence of all mediation, all means to do something about it or against it. Just the simple, thorough experiencing of the whole thing without any sense of separation. realizing that the thought, this is happening to me, poor me, is already a separation, which causes pain and anxiety on top of it. No thought about it. Just, what is this? And not knowing what it is. Let go of the label one has given it in order to communicate it to others or to oneself, because what is going on right now at a moment of anxiety or terror or panic, fear, is not the word, but the word can make it worse because it brings associated memories into play. When that is seen intelligently, which is possible in awareness, maybe the words will stay aside, not interfere in this wondering what this is. Not as an outsider, but as being this whole thing. Without any separation. And yet, the sound of leaves shaking is also here. And insects humming is also here. And the cool wind breezing across the skin is also here. Breathing is here and heart beating is here. It's all here with this not known but palpably tumultuous thing, painful thing. But see, to communicate, we still use words, but for oneself, no words, no knowing, no separation. Many people here understand what is being talked about, as they've experienced it themselves, and understand that something changes in the presence of this unconditional being with, or being all of that, without knowing, without running. In a gentleness, not forceful, not violent, not pushy, just wondering about what is really not knowable and not known right now. Then with the fuel cut off, as it were, no thoughts meddling, increasing the disorder, thoughts in abeyance, in not knowing, and feeling the pain, which is not pain as we think of it. It is something different when it is unknown and experienced directly, unmediated by concepts. In this unconditional, no separation, things change, emotions, fears, physical states change, dissolve. Or if they don't, because some thought trickles by and keeps it going, then can that be seen and felt to be so and understood wisely. Wisely meaning not judgmentally, blamingly. Because in this, what was just described, there is no success or failure. There is only being with whatever is happening this moment. Not knowing it, but experiencing it, being that freely. Is there a danger in that? I've never ever found it to be so. The danger is in avoiding or manipulating or knowing it all and associating with the known. Awareness I've never found to be dangerous. On the contrary, it is healing because it is holding. It brings to light what is, or what was buried, what was repressed, and what is all right to be felt. See, the thought says, don't touch it, it's too dangerous. You can't touch primordial fear. Well, drop the word primordial fear, because that seems so far, so remote to reach, or so impossible, so deep, so intransited. Drop all assumptions because they're not true. They're based on more assumptions of what one heard or what one thinks or imagines or other people have imagined or what happened in the past. But this moment, anything is possible. And it's not impossible to feel pain and fear, the fear of pain and the pain of fear, no matter how threatening it appears. The appearing threatening is still conceptual, ideational. But this living presence is here to be touched, to be felt. What a relief to be able to do it without all these ideas about it. Maybe for a moment right now, it's just the breeze and the sound of the breeze, the feeling of it, the spaciousness of it, and the stillness of it. Right now, where is the fear? Where is the anger? Maybe it's not there at all. But if a thought arises, hey, I could get lost in this quietness, and there's some fear trigger. The quietness and stillness and spaciousness without thinking about myself is not fearful at all. But the thought, I could get lost, triggers all kinds of ideas and conceptualization about being and not being. And the attachment to being, and the fear of losing what I'm attached to. That's what fear is. Ultimately, this primordial fear isn't it fear of losing what I'm attached to, or where there is a deeply felt attachment. To one's children, to one's parents, to one's loved ones. And it goes on and on. Possessions, imagery, name, fame. Or, if one goes deeper and deeper, fear of losing oneself. But what is oneself this moment? There's a palpitating heart and living sounds inside and outside, not knowing really what is inside and what is outside. It's one palpitating whole, aliveness. Who's lost? What is there to be found when everything is here, as it is? And oneself breathing, palpitating, heartbeat, sensations and sounds, and not separable from the whole, aliveness of this moment. Yeah, what comes to mind, someone yesterday in the meeting, I think it was the meeting in which we talked about primordial fear, and the person who brought it up saying, right now it was not there. There was no fear. There was openness and aliveness. Person throwing in a brief quotation from the ancient Chinese Zen stories. And looking at that whole story, it's a neat one, I'll tell it. I'd forgotten about it. It's about an Indian prince who came to China to bring a new teaching, which was the Buddhist teaching. And not finding much understanding with the emperor, he just withdrew to a cave, and there he sat for years and years and years. Just, that's a legend, I'm sure. Who sits for years? Well, some people do. 9 years facing a cave wall, supposedly. Because see, this is said already to get up your fervor to do the same thing. I'm not doing it like that. It's a neat story. And someone came to learn from him. He thought this man must have something. If he can do that, the strength, the equanimity. I want to learn from him. But the Indian sage or prince didn't stir. He didn't even turn around to look at him. Winter came, snow came, ice came, and this seeker stood through it all in front of the cave, waiting for the prince, the sage, to turn around and give him the teaching, which finally happened after all kinds of self-sacrificing part. I don't want to go into that. So, finally the prince said, "What do you want?" And the monk says, "I want you to pacify my mind." And the prince said, "All right, bring me your mind and I will pacify it." And the poor seeker says, "I have looked for it everywhere. and I haven't been able to find it. And the prince says, see, there, I've pacified it. I guess for as long as it lasts. We will end here for today.